Hi everyone, this is my sensory and visual interventions video. So my case study child's coded name is Jay. Jay is 4 years old and is diagnosed with ASD. One of my goals is to reduce Jay's food selectivity. Right now, he only has a few meals that he's willing to eat. I think that expanding the food he eats is important for his health. He's not willing to eat many healthy foods. He does drink those Ensure shakes, but that's not a replacement for eating vegetables and other healthy foods on a daily basis. It's necessary to incorporate healthy eating to support his health, well-being, and his behavior. I believe his selectivity has to do with the texture of the foods, so this is a sensory issue. I decided it would be a good goal to use a sensory intervention for. The new food I introduced will be a sandwich with the bread he likes because he really loves peanut butter and jelly, and that's one of the only meals that he really wants to eat. So I'll try to keep the texture sort of similar, maybe starting out with something like a hummus sandwich. My group member for the sensory interventions and visual interventions was Abby, and my original plan was going to be to give Jay his favorite food, a peanut butter and jelly, tell him first you can take a bite of peanut butter and jelly, then the new sandwich, then the peanut butter and jelly again. But Abby mentioned that she thought it would be better to have the peanut butter and jelly be last, and if he tried one bite of the new sandwich, he could have the whole peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I thought that was a good idea, and I decided that I would expand on kind of my plan a little bit and have him take another bite each day before he got his peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So for instance, on Monday he would take one bite of the new sandwich. On Tuesday he would take 2 bites of the new sandwich. Every single day he has a peanut butter and jelly for lunch, so the peanut butter and jelly would be consistent. I would just ask his parents to pack a new sandwich every day, but probably the same sandwich for the first few days, like the hummus sandwich. And that would, keep some stuff the same, but also allow him to really try the new food unless he absolutely can't stand it. And of course, I'll ask him is it too mushy? Is it the taste you don't like? Whatever it may be. He is very verbal and he's willing to tell you how he feels about things and tell you if he likes something or if he doesn't. He just needs to be prompted to use the right words. So like, he might not use the word mushy. He would just say, I don't like it. So if I ask him, oh, is this too mushy? Is it too crunchy? He'll be able to say which one. So I actually realized that counting the days would be a reinforcement for him, like doing 1 bite Monday, 2 bites Tuesday, and so on, because he really, really loves counting. He enjoys being counted too. He counts to himself, but for him, it's definitely a reinforcement when you count to him. He wants to continue going when you count. Really with whatever the activity may be. So this might motivate him to take more bites or to deal with the bites because he'll be counting them, and he'll be able to get his peanut butter and jelly after, of course. This intervention will happen during lunchtime because it will fit best into his day. He already eats lunch with an adult next to him, whether it's at home or school. Also, this will not be intervening with social time because his pre-K class doesn't really talk while eating. And at home there's more socialization, but I don't think it will take a lot of extra time, maybe 5 or 10 minutes at lunch in the beginning, and it'll probably get easier as time goes. The result I hope to see from this is Jay being more willing to try different sandwiches and maybe find something that he enjoys that's a little bit more healthy than just a peanut butter and jelly every day. I would eventually like this to allow him to try other types of foods, and then later in life have him be able to go out to restaurants with family and friends and eat off that menu. So moving on to the visual intervention. I decided to address my second goal for Jay, which is for him to cope with small changes in his routine. He can get very upset with changes, but they happen often. First, I want to address a more broad routine and include big events in the day, more specifically where he's going, who he's going with, etc. So here is the little schedule I made. It's sort of like a folder, open it up, and it has little papers that say all the things with photos of the things that he'll be doing. Each activity has a photo because, of course, he can't read. He's only 4, and he's not in kindergarten yet. And I think that the visual will prepare him for the task. Of course, these are not photos of his actual dad's car or his school. They're just photos I got off the internet. But before I would implement this, I would make sure to have Jay help with taking the photos of his mom, his dad, his grandmother, stuff like that. Anyone who might be picking him up, anywhere he might be going on a regular basis. So these are more just like general things he's going to do. I didn't include brushing your teeth or things like that. That's not the issue he has with. He has more of an issue with change in scenery. Like if he, like it's not every day that his dad brings him to school, but it might be twice a week, one week, and then it might be once the next week. So if he has an opportunity to see it visually, I think it will make his transitions a little bit smoother. Everything is Velcro on here so that we can, change it up. So if dad is not picking him up, we can change it. Or if dad's not bringing him to school, we can change it over here and put, sorry, this is taking a second, and put it up here. So originally I was just going to make it on like one piece of paper, but I was working with Abby, as I told you before, so she suggested that I keep the extra pieces displayed so he could see that there might be changes in his day. So I just put them over here facing the opposite way so that he wouldn't get confused. So I did make it a folder because of that reason, and I think that that actually makes it more easy to transport in his backpack. I also wanted to include some blank ones when I'm actually going to suggest that this be implemented or made for him, that they'll be laminated, it'll be a lot more sturdy. And they'll include blank ones with an expo marker so that if it's something that I don't have a piece about, I only have the cars that he rides in normally, the houses that he goes to normally, school, doctor's office, grocery store, and each of the people that usually picks him up. But sometimes there is a change, like sometimes his aunt might pick him up, but that happens once in a blue moon, so I don't have one for that. But then his parents or teacher could just write it in with the expo marker, and then it could be erased. And even to help that, you could just draw, a little stick figure person to represent like an aunt picking up, or even maybe have him draw it. I chose this intervention because Jay has a tendency to have outbursts where he'll hit, pull hair, kick when, like for example, his grandmother picks him up from school rather than his dad when he thought his dad was picking him up. Even if he's been told this by his teacher, because his parents might call ahead and say, hey, tell Jay that, someone else is going to be picking him up today. But he will still have these tantrums, and I think this is a good way to remedy that in a little way. We'll see if it works. This intervention requires a little bit of a more bigger commitment than the previous, than the sensory intervention, because I'm going to ask his mom or dad to sit down with him the night before, make the plan for the next day, move the pieces around, and then go over it once more in the morning, just so he gets a little bit of a refresher. Then he can take it with him in his backpack to school, so if there's any changes, his teachers can go and switch it up with him. Also, I know I mentioned that he really likes counting, so this has the numbered order. He really, really enjoys numbers. He enjoys, I think, the predictability about them. So he'll be able to go over this and maybe count what's going to happen with his teacher or his parent when he's kind of preparing for the day, or when he's preparing for pickup, which is another time I'm going to ask his teacher go over the schedule with him. So if she just sits down with him right before pickup and says, hey, so this is, you're going to get picked up by grandma today, you're going to go to the grocery store, can you point to your grandma, can you point to the grocery store, what comes next, that type of thing. This goal is really to just make easier transitions so everyone can be on time where they're going, and he can have a more pleasant pickup and a more pleasant ride to school if it's not what he expected, or ride home, or if he didn't anticipate having to stop at the grocery store. That might be a little bit easier if he's able to see it laid out, count to it, and have a visual. I'd really like him to be able to cope with the routine to get rid of outbursts, because it'll just create more socially appropriate behavior when out and about with family and at school. To end this video, I want to talk a little bit about my conversation with my group member, Abby, when designing these interventions. Basically, we each described our case study children to one another and the goals we set out for them, and made suggestions to each intervention, and commented about what we liked or thought might not work. I already mentioned the suggestions that Abby made to my interventions with the sandwiches and the visual, the sensory and the visual, and how I implemented them into the interventions. So I'm not going to go over that again. We also discussed Abby's case study, though, who is 14 and a freshman in high school. He is diagnosed with high-functioning ASD, and his biggest issues are lack of focus and trouble with social interactions. He has trouble focusing with noise, so for her sensory intervention, she's going to give him noise-canceling headphones, which I thought was, just a great plan, so he could stay in the classroom, but also still be able to focus. Abby said it would be helpful for her case study child to have a schedule as well. Maybe not visual with pictures, because he doesn't need that. But she was going to color code his schedule and use a coordinating folder for each class. She did mention that he loved football, so I made a suggestion that he could incorporate his interests into his schedule by, she could buy folders or decorate the folders with NFL team stickers or the team colors, and then have his color-coded schedule correspond with the colors on the folder for each class. I do think that the group format was helpful for this assignment because we were able to collaborate, bounce ideas off each other, and add layers to our interventions. Thanks for watching my video. I'll upload my reinforcement and motivation soon.